All right. Well, welcome to the second episode of the Daily Roam. I am one of your hosts, Keith, or Forget My Face, and I am here with Spillrag. Say hello.
Hello.
Okay. So yeah, this is episode two. Before we get started, a couple things that I wanted to talk about. Um, Episode one was awesome. It went really well. We got a lot of good feedback and a lot of support from people. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you for giving us your feedback and your support. It goes a long way. Um, Couple things. We have an RSS feed now. You can find it on the cast page of our website, thedailyrum.com. It's right at the top there. You should be able to add us to your iTunes. It'll alert you whenever we have new episodes and all of that. Uh, Otherwise, couple shout outs to people who are supporting us. Guys from down the pipe, they give me some good advice on Reddit, and I appreciate that. So thank you guys. Also, evepodcasts.com, they threw us up on there, so I think a couple people found us from there, and so I appreciate that. The last thing I want to go over before we start getting into it is we have an in-game channel. It's called The Daily Roam with spaces. Um, Basically, feel free to stop by, talk about fights, talk about anything you've heard on the cast, ask us questions, ask each other questions. Just keep it friendly and feel free to hang out there. And that is about it. Anything you want to add, Spill, before we get into the next announcement?
No, I'm good.
Okay, cool. So then the next thing is we're only going to do a quick blurb about this because we could not get a hold of the person after they initially asked us to give info on it. But there is a player meetup in Canada on the 23rd of August. It's I think it's in Toronto. I have like some notes here in front of me, so forgive me if I say anything wrong. But there'll be a link to the whole event page on the description of this cast, which has basically everything. But from my understanding of it, if CCP Fozzie is going to be there, it's a Canada meetup. It starts at 9 p.m. in Toronto, and there's a bunch of giveaways and DJs and music and stuff. So yeah, basically just check out the link. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I don't know too much about it. But anything you want to add to that, Spill?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Spill's good. So that's that. All right. So tonight we have a guest with us. They are well, I'll let them introduce themselves. Go ahead and say hello.
Hello, I'm Lilitan, and I'm part of Kill It With Fire, which is the same alliance that Spill and Forget My Face are part of.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, so Lily was in charge of our alliance team. He was in charge of all the organization. He sent out about 1 million mails, which none of us ever read, but he was a big part of that. From my experience with him, he's great at flying Logi. I think recently he's been flying other stuff and starting to get a bloodlust for it. But in general, overall, great pilot. So we're really happy to have you on, Lily.
Thank you.
Okay, so Lily, I don't know. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your Eve experience, what you've done in Eve, where you've come from, how you got where you are today?
Well, I started playing like 2 years ago. I actually started playing a couple of years back, but I could never get into the game. 2 years ago, I started playing, decided to join Eve Uni, where I stood for, I think it was 1 year. After that, I moved to Nullsec Alliance, Razor Alliance, which was fun, but the constant war and the grinding of soft structures almost took me out of the game. I took a big break and finally found lead farmers, moved into wormholes, and started getting more into PvP, small scale PvP.
Awesome, yeah. So while you were in the uni, did you do any PvP there, or what did you do mostly for that first year? Was it just learning the game and getting over the whole learning curve, or?
Yeah, for the most was learning the game and doing missions. 1 year doing missions.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So how did you end up finding Kill It with Fire? And how do you like that compared to all the nullsec stuff you did?
Well, like you said, I'm for the most Logi pilot. I trained Logi, and that was I was flying in my nullsec alliance in Razor. I always liked PvP, but I was always too scared to do PvP alone. When I left Razor, I tried incursions for a bit, but it was too boring to. It was just like doing missions with other people. So I started looking for a different corp, and I found you guys.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I knew I always wanted to PvP in the game, but like I it's hard to find the right venue for it. So it's definitely a good thing. Um. Okay. So I don't know. Spill. Any questions for Lily? Anything you want to touch on?
Uh, no, can't think of anything at the moment.
All right, well, no problem. Um, then I guess we'll get into the main segment of the cast, which is about talking about fights and things that we've had and we've done. Before I start getting into my notes, Lily, you were with us on the Kill It with Fire a week ago that we talked about a little bit, and I know that was I don't know if it was one of the first times, but I know you were really enjoying flying a it was a Dominix, right? Is what you were flying?
Yeah, it was a Dominix.
So I don't know. Was that one of your? I mean, how often do you fly combat ships versus logi ships? And I know the roles are pretty different, so you seemed pretty excited to be actually blowing stuff up.
Yeah, it's something I haven't flown much, and that dummy was it was murdering everything, basically.
It was. I know people were like, how is Lily getting all the kill mails? And you were laughing maniacally. So it was good. That was a lot of fun. But yeah. Since then, I know you've flown with me on a couple roams and combat ships, and you always do great logi. I mean, like your thread on the forums about logi is invaluable to me. I've learned so much about it and like put all these skills in my queue that I'd never thought to train before. So I know that's good. But I guess another question for you then is how did you get into flying logi and like what do you like about it or what did you like about it before you were flying combat stuff more?
Uh, Back in the uni, at some point I was flying in one of our rooms. I was flying T1 Logic. This was before the update, and I know that at some point we had a bait on the grid, and when I landed, me and a couple of others who were also flying T1 Lodges, we were able to save the bait. And when you do that, that is a awesome feeling.
That is one of the best feelings in Eve for sure. Spill, you fly logi too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you like about logi, Spill, or flying it? I guess we're going to talk about logi for a minute here.
um, yeah, I think it's a lot of fun because you actually get to feel like how the fight's actually going. You're not just like in a DPS ship going, okay, shoot this guy, shoot this guy. It's like you can tell whether or not you're losing dudes, you're keeping dudes up. And like Lily said, like bringing someone back from like almost dying is a great feeling. I know I've had that happen where uh, I it was me, and I think you might have been there. But like we were landing on grid, and one of our other members, Bronsky Bomb, she was in a Proteus, and she was like bleeding into structure, and so like all the lodges like heated our reps, and we like repped her back from structure, and it was amazing. So, and that's a great feeling when someone's like, "Well, I'm gonna die," and you're like, "No, not today."
It's a pretty fun feeling. I know I have a couple clips of me and shield ships and being like, okay, someone else is gonna have to call. I'm about to go down, and then like you in the background being like, no, you're not. Like landing on grid and my shield repping back while I'm in like quarter structure. So it's pretty heroic. It does make you feel like a hero. I really do love flying logi myself. Um, lately I've been pigeonholed into the more of the role of calling targets and FCing and all that, so I haven't had to do it. But it's a lot of fun. I really do like Logi. And I guess so something to talk about with Logi, which is pretty cool now, is the now that they're, I mean, Lily, I know you mentioned it briefly, but you were flying T1 Logi before the buff, so you're old school. But now that there has been a buff, T1 Logi is really really powerful, and Logi is always a good force multiplier. It's a really great way to get people into flying Logi with a 40 mil cruiser or less. I mean maybe 20 mil for a scythe, and it gets them experience that they would need in order to fly like the bigger and more expensive and better Logis. So yeah, I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on like the or I guess I'll ask you each individually, but yeah, Lily, I know recently we had a couple tests with the augers even against the Balgorn and stuff. And what were your thoughts on like the T1 Logi and all of that?
They are awesome. They are very close to T2 Logis. Of course, they don't have the same tank, the same sensor strength, or the same range. They wrap a bit less, but still, for the price, it's insane the power these ships have now.
Yeah, definitely. And then Spill, I mean, so you've flown Logi a bit, scythes and stuff, and how would you say? Are they fun to fly? And even small stuff like two or three of us going out, and do you think it's worth bringing one? Or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think a scythe fully fitted is what, like 20 mil or less, and it helps you rep a lot of DPS. I'm not sure that exact number, but it's a huge force multiplier. So for like 3 or 4 dudes, it's huge.
Yeah. So I'll harken back to an old fight. And we can start talking about it that way. But so I am in a rapid light missile caracal, and I have a buddy with me, and he is in a scythe. We are in low sec. I think it's Gonditza is the system, and I warp to a gate just by myself. The scythe's hanging back, and there is a Talos, a Loki, a Vagabond, and I think maybe an assault frig of some kind, probably like a Jaguar or a Wolf. So initially, what are your guys' thoughts on that, on my chance of success against that gang, or what would you do? I suppose is your first thing. I guess we'll direct it to Spill first.
I'd probably go for the tackle and see if I can nuke the tackle and get out. Maybe take on the Vagabond, but probably not.
All right, yeah. What are your thoughts on it, Lily? Or I mean, just even if it's not your forte, what would you probably do in this situation? You're in a caracal and you're facing these guys on a low set gate.
Yeah, I think that goal is your most immediate threat, since you may want to bail out at some point.
Yeah, definitely. So another thing to add is that the Talos and the Vagabond are not flashy, but the Tackle and the Loki were flashy. So that is actually what I did. I started shooting the Tackle. I don't remember what it was. It was a Wolf or a Jag. It didn't really matter because as soon as I started shooting him, he jumped out. So now it leaves me with a Loki at 0 on the gate, and they have a Talos about 40 off, and a Vaga about 40 off in the other direction. And I think that was it. But I mean, does that change anything? Tackle's gone. Now what? I mean, we op success, right? But now what? Now what do you
do? I guess I'd try and get the Vagabond or the Talus to aggress you, since they're non-flashy. Unless you had a suspect for some reason, but I'm not too. I can't say for sure because I don't know the aggression mechanics off the top of my head.
So, okay. Yeah. Anything else actually, Lily? Any thoughts, or are you agreeing with Phil on this one again?
Yeah, the Loki probably has too much tank for your Keko.
Yeah,
so it's not a good target.
So definitely, actually, the Caracal's probably only got about 250 DPS, give or take, with drones and heat and the right ammo and stuff. So it's pretty sparsely tanked. But so yeah, I start burning in, and interestingly enough, the Loki warps off toward the direction of the station. I'm thinking maybe he's going to reship, since he's -10 and he knows. I'm also -10 at this point. So makes a big difference. I'm really unsure why the Loki warped off, but it's kind of confusing. You'd think a Loki would be great, locking down a kiting caracal or whatever, but maybe he was afraid I was bait or I had too many friends or something. Um, so yeah, I'm -10. I start burning in. The Vaga, he starts burning away. I'm burning toward the gate. Vaga's burning away. So Spill? Why is the Vaga burning away? Why did the Loki warp off? Do you have any idea? Are these guys just bad? What are your thoughts?
I just want to say they're bads, or they think you're epic bait, or they're setting up an epic trap.
Yeah, I think they think that I'm bait is really the only thing I can think. And so what do? I do the completely wrong thing. Um and I let the vagabond burn out. And I take gate guns on the Talos. So uh now what are your thoughts? I'm taking gate guns. I'm tanking a Talos. Do I call in my scythe buddy? Do I leave him behind? What do I do at this point?
I would call in the scythe buddy and have him rep you and see if you can stay up long enough to take down the Talos. But under a Talos, you probably can't tank with the scythe anyways, and plus the DPS from the gate guns is probably not going to help. Pretty lolzy, so I would go for it.
Yeah, Lily, any thoughts on this now that I'm taking gate guns in a cruiser against a battle cruiser with battleship-sized guns?
You can gamble a bit, but yeah, the Talos can probably burn you in a couple of shots.
Yeah, so that was what I was thinking. When I took the gate guns on the Talos, I was about 40 off of him. I was kind of right in his optimal, depending on what he was doing with his life. But he's off the gate, so he can't jump. I know that. And I have point on him now, and I start screaming for my buddy to come in the scythe. It was Legionos. He was like first day he was in Corp, and he warps in, and surprisingly enough, the Talos is a rail fit, and I'm under his guns, and so now I have a scythe. He's about 50 off, and he's repping me, and I'm tanking gate guns with just a scythe, and I'm killing the Talos. So the Vaga is about 80 away from me. I see the Loki on short, so I know he's coming back, and I see a Vexer on short. So, does anything change at this point, Spill? I'm under the Talos' rails because I don't know why he has rails, and I'm tanking the gate guns.
Definitely stay and try and burn down the Talos, and then depending on where things land, and how much damage you're in, or how, I guess if you're tanking, then you're fine. But yeah, definitely try and burn down the Talos, and then go from there.
Yeah. Anything else you would add, Lily? Or
No, I think I'd keep shooting the Talos. Probably if I had the choice, align something so I can warp off as soon as the Vexer land.
yeah, and I probably should have done that. I probably should have aligned or done something like that. But I didn't think I was going to be able to tank the gate guns. That was the most shocking part to me, was that just with one scythe I was able to tank the gate guns in my caracal, and it was pretty amazing. It was a huge force multiplier. So anyway, I burned the Talos down right as the Loki lands 100 off the gate, but he's kind of he's closer to the scythe than anything. He's about 40 off the scythe when he lands, and the Vexer lands on the gate at 0. Talos is dead. So basically, to speed this fight up, moral of the story, I basically keep keep screaming at our scythe to keep range and blah blah blah. Oh, and I forgot about the vagabond. My bad. The vagabond's been burning in this whole time, and I'm like, fuck this vagabond. He's -10. Like, I can aggress him. I'm thinking in my head, oh, I can aggress him and still not take gate guns, even though I'm already taking gate guns. So anyway, burn in. I get tackle on the Vaga. So now we've got a Vexer on the gate. We've got a Loki clearly chasing the scythe, and we've got the Vagabond tackled. So, what are your guys' thoughts on like Caracal versus Vagabond plus gate guns? Spill.
I think you should still be okay. Because Vega is not going to do too much DPS, even if it's like right on top of you. But it could be like the breaking point for your Logi. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing. I'm like, well, op success already. I killed a Talus. I'm in a Caracal, whatever. And the site was doing a remarkable job at staying away from the Loki at this point. So I'm like, screw it. I'll go for the Vega. And I was actually, going toe to toe with him pretty well with the reps on me and the Vega. We we both hit armor at about the same time, and then I figured I was going to kill him, and I made a big mistake here. So what I started to do was I started to align out right as we were both hitting like low armor. I started to align out. So why would you guys think, Lily? Why do you think this is a problem? Me starting to align out when it's a really close fight between me and the Vega.
You lose the transversal.
Yeah, and basically he suddenly applied maximum DPS to me, and I exploded in a ball of fire. But it was very close. And at multiple points during that engagement, the Loki got within like 20 or less of the scythe and was just not scramming him or something. Like I don't know what he was doing. He was chasing him, but he almost seemed like he didn't want to take gate guns. And so that was really interesting. But the site did a really good job of staying away. That's the main thing when you're a solo Logi or when you're flying something like that. It's fragile, and if you get caught, the biggest issue you have to worry about is staying away from the enemies and staying within rep range of your allies. But under any normal circumstance, had it been two Caracals, or two cruisers, one of them not a Logi, we'd have died probably to just the gate guns before the Talus died. So I guess that's kind of the moral of the story, is that T1 Logi is awesome, and it's a sweet force multiplier. It's cheap. There's a really low skill barrier to fly it, and it's pretty awesome. Yeah, I don't know. Any closing thoughts on that fight, either of you?
Nope.
Well, you traded a Caracal for a Talos. That's always a good trade.
Yeah, I mean, and I was pretty happy with it, and I learned a lot about Logi and range and people being afraid of things and thinking they're bait even though they're not, and all of that. So yeah, that was pretty sweet. But yeah, T1 Logi is awesome. Logi is awesome. I encourage everyone to try it. We have great little realms in Bantams and Merlins. We also do RR Vexers, which I think we did some RR Vexers this week. But yeah, so it's all good. Yeah. So anyway, I guess we'll move on to the next fight. So a ship that I've been flying recently is the Bellicose. Now the main reason I fly the Bellicose, before anyone gets all upset or anything, is because it's so underrated. Is because it's so, everyone's like, that ship is crap. And compared to the other ships in its role, if you're not target painting with the Bellicose, it is a little bit crap. So I'll totally admit that. But it's been a lot of fun. Before we get into any specific fights, I guess, Spill, what are your thoughts on the Bellicose?
At first, when you first were talking about it, I was like, why not use the Caracal? But I think it's because people have come to expect, like, they know what the Caracal can do, which is what you said. What's nice about the Bellicose is that people are like, it's a Bellicose. It doesn't really do too much because it's just a support cruiser.
Yeah. So Lily, any thoughts on the Bellicose? Do you? I mean, what are your thoughts on the Bellicose? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a ship cruiser. It's not very good, but actually people think it's worse than it really is.
Yeah. So the thing is, Bellicose, it's a support cruiser from Mimitar. It's got a bonus to like target paints. It's got 4 launcher slots and a small drone bay and stuff. But in general, people who see it are either like, that's crap, or are like, I don't even know what that does. It's got to be crap. Like, there's no one who sees a Bellicose and is like, oh, be careful, he could have a full rack of rapid lights, so we don't want to tackle him. But so that's the idea. So the thing is that we talked about last time. a little bit was that one of our favorite things to do was fly caracals with a full rack of rapid lights and just full tank, 3 large shield extenders, buffer rigs, etc., and couple it with a massive DPSing, Oracle, Talos, Tornado, something like that. And the role is to hold tackle and to kill, or to hold tackle on what we're killing and to kill tackle on, anything that's tackling us. And the cool thing about the Bellicose is its slot layout is, I think, other than -1 high, it's identical to the Caracal. So you can fit the same tank on it. So that's awesome. Tank-wise, it's got a tiny bit less, but it's faster, which is sweet for the trade-off. DPS-wise, it kind of sucks. Range-wise, it kind of sucks. The Caracal has a bonus, so for me, hams hit out to about 44. On the Bellicose, I lose about 10k of that range. So that is a downside. But the thing is the Bellicose is cheap. It's really underrated. It can have a full flight of drones out. I think it's full flight, might be 4. And you can fit 4 rapid lights on it. So you can have something like, around 200 applied DPS to frigs. And that's really all you need for solo and or for gang work. So after I spit out all those stats and stuff, after seeing some of the stuff we've done with the Bellicose, Spill, has your opinion changed on it at all since the start of the week?
Yeah, definitely. The thing is that even with -1 launcher versus the Caracal, like, since we've been using it as rapid lights, you still apply a lot of DPS to the tackle that you're shooting, so it still does its role incredibly well. Actually, I like the larger drone bay on it because you can get a full flight of lights plus 3 more light drones. Whereas the Caracal, you only get 2 drones, so that's actually a really nice utility.
Yeah, it definitely is. And Lily, you've flown with us a few times with Bellicose and stuff, right? Has your opinion changed on it at all since the start of you seeing me flying it, or you flying it yourself? I think I may have loaned one out to you. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I did fly one, and it's awesome to kill light tackle.
Yeah, and so that's something it's an interesting concept or thought. But basically, killing light tackle, it's you have your DPS, you have your ships burning away and applying lots of DPS, and if something tackles them, they die. So people will go out and they'll try and solo in a Talos, which actually is really good for it because it has a drone bay and has pretty exceptional tracking. But in general, if something can tackle you, something can get under your guns, you're in trouble. But otherwise, that's the main weakness of these tier 3 battle cruisers. So when you couple them with something that's meant to kill the tackle, you have a lot of fun. But basically, so going into this the second fight that I want to talk about this week, I'm flying a Bellicose because I figure, hey, it's underrated. The main thing that people send out against you when you go out there is that I find is tackle, and they have like things like canes and drakes, and then they have tackle that holds you down. And if I were in a Caracal or in something else, even a Rupture, people might be afraid to tackle me. But if I'm in a Bellicose, most people they're going to tackle me before they even think about it and before they even consider what's going on. So I've been trying to solo in it a little bit with the idea of killing tackle, maybe outranging some kind of blaster boats and stuff, but I haven't had a good experience with that yet. But basically, soloing around, killing tackle, killing random things that get thrown at me. So to get into this first fight with the Bellicose, I jump into this system that we'd had a couple good fights in before. It's a renting system in Catch. I think it's AOK is what it's called. Anyway, jump in. There's on D-Scan immediately. I have 9 mining ships. I think it was something like 6 retrievers and 3 Mackinaws and a rattlesnake. So this is about 2 jumps out of our home, a wormhole. During this time, everyone's forming up to run sites and RR Tengus and stuff because I don't have an RR Tengu, so I'm all butthurt and I'm going on a roam by myself. And so I'm like, this is interesting. Immediately, you jump into a system and there are 9 mining ships and rattlesnake on scan. What do you do? Spill.
I find those mining ships and I'd find the mining ships and the rattlesnake well, rattlesnake first, sorry, and then go and point that rattlesnake. Because in my head, it's like rattlesnake in a 0-0 riding system. He's got to be pimped, or at least that's what I'm hoping. And
Yeah.
then hopefully I land on him, point him, and scream for everyone to come shoot him.
Yeah. So then, okay. So Lily, I mean, what Phil said was, you find the rattlesnake. What would your thought process be? How are you going to find, either the mining ships or the rattlesnake? Obviously, they're on D-scan. So what's the process you would go through to find them?
Well, I'll try to pinpoint the belt they are in, if there's no any other side.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I completely agree with all of that. And so what I do is I steal the mining ships, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm in a bellicose. I'm never gonna kill a rattlesnake. No one ever comes and helps me kill stuff when I tackle it in nullsec. So I'm thinking I'm going for these mining ships. I want to land on grid. I want them all to be AFK. I want to kill 9 retrievers and 9 pods or something. But what happens is there's no ore sites at all. And by now I'm starting to panic. I descan, around a little bit. They're still in space somewhere, but I don't know where they are. And so at this point, I say fuck it, and I right click in space and I warp to the top belt in the system. And I mean, has this ever worked for you guys? Do you ever just randomly warp somewhere? And what are your thoughts on so what are the chances that I'm going to land on anything just randomly warping to the top belt in the system?
Slim.
Yeah, slim to say the least. It's a Hail Mary typically, and I was 50-50 between I'm going to warp to the top belt in the system or I'm going to warp to the station and hope they undocks and tackle to try and kill me. But anyway, I'm in warp, and as I'm getting ready to land, I realize that I'm about to land on 9 mining ships and a rattlesnake. They're clearly in this top belt in the system. So now, what are your thoughts? If you're about to land on 9 mining ships and a rattlesnake, I mean, you've kind of already said it, but what are you going to do, Swell?
Start screaming for everyone to burn towards that system.
Yeah, because I am in a bellicose. I am in some deep shit. Rattlesnakes, they're pirate faction battleships. They're king of king. They have a huge drone bay. They can fit, a ton of missiles. They can fit nukes. They can do all kinds of crazy shit that's going to make it so I'm useless as anything. So, yeah, so I start screaming. I'm like, guys, I'm landing on a rattlesnake. Holy shit. And I take a screenshot, actually, and I paste it in Corp so that people can see it. Just because my first thought, actually, was I'm going to die to this rattlesnake, and no one's going to believe that I landed on it with all these retrievers. So as soon as I land, all the retrievers start motorboating away. And in my panic, I don't lock anything. And I start burning straight in for the rattlesnake. So the first thing that happens, all the retrievers warp off. I get point on the rattlesnake, and he drops a full flight of Acolyte 2s. Well, what are your thoughts on Acolyte 2s, Lily? Do you think they're the appropriate drone for this situation?
That's not what I would use on a rattlesnake, but they do good damage to your shield tank.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, Acolyte 2's interesting. I'm screaming. I'm like, everyone get here now. Everyone get here now. And everyone was in our Tengus in our first out. So they're 2 jumps away in our Tengus. And they're making way. They're landing on the nullsec at about the time I kill the first flight of Acolyte 2's. And now I've got a Legion on short. So Spill, thoughts. Legion is about to land. That's taking about 30% damage, killing a flight of fucking acolytes, and I still have point on this rattlesnake. What are your thoughts?
The end is nigh. Even the Legion doesn't really have to do much. He just has to land and pretty much just shoot at you, and that would probably force you off.
Yeah. So Scorch, lasers in general on shields, it's like the sweet spot. This rattlesnake's dropped another set of Acolyte 2s. The Legion lands. I start burning off. I figure, fuck it. People are just now getting into the nullsec. They have to burn through 40k of bubbles with afterburners. This is not my day. I'm not going to get anything out of these guys. So I start burning away. And surprisingly enough, the Legion chases a little bit. The rattlesnake chases a bit, but no one's warping out. So, what does this tell you, I guess? Lily, what are your thoughts? If they're not warping out once I lose tackle.
If they're not warping out and you can keep range, I would stay on the grid with them.
Exactly, yeah. And so I'm thinking in my head, okay, these guys think they've got me. And inevitably, they do. They do think they've got me. They, in local, they're starting to smack. They're like, oh, big noob in a bellicose, learn to pick your fights. They're saying that, like, oh, learn who you're fucking with, basically, is what they're trying to tell me. And I find it kind of amusing. And I burn around a bit. I'm starting to get low and lower shield from the Legion, but he's doing anemic DPS. I don't know what he was doing, but it was bad. So I'm still alive. And then basically Archie, shout out to this guy, he's awesome. He managed to grab a Proteus from home and burn through the bubbles before anyone else. And Archie is like, oh, I'm like 5k off the gate, whatever, blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, fuck it. Like I'm in a bellicose. I've got my alt in something else. I don't remember what it was. I'm gonna commit into this rattlesnake and hopefully that they're gonna stay on grid long enough to get tackle. So I start burning back into the rattlesnake right as Archie jumps the gate. I guess there's nothing really to ask about at this point, but other than now that I'm burning in, now that I'm committing, yeah, I mean, so yeah, whatever. I'll keep going. Anyway, I explode in a ball of fire when I'm about 20 off the rattlesnake, and I just sit there. I let my pod sit there, and the rattlesnake takes an epically long time to lock a pod, and the Legion is like 70 off because I think maybe he was afterburner fit and was chasing me really slowly. So Archie, right as I explode, Archie's, I'm in warp. Archie's in a Proteus. So now, what are your guys' thoughts? I've exploded. Was that a good call? Should I have just warped away? Should I have just, whatever? Do you think they're gonna leave now that I've got a friend in the system? I don't know. Risk versus reward. What do you think, Phil?
I think it's definitely worth the risk because at the end of the day, you've sacrificed a cheap cruiser, and the rattlesnake is still on grid with what I'm assuming is a long point Proteus in the warp tunnel going to land on it, and the rattlesnake sticking around to try and lock your pod, which is going to take a long time.
Yeah, and so basically they give one more last smack talk in local, which is something to the effect of GG noob before I get the pod express out. But Archie lands on grid right as I get the pod express out. So now let's just think we're in Archie's shoes, right? He's a long point Proteus. He's on a rattlesnake, and there is a Legion burning in toward him. Is he in a good position or a bad position? What do you think, Lily?
Well, the Legion was doing very few damage to you, so it was not very well fit, but he didn't know that, so he could be in a bad spot.
Yeah, so he's now Archie's making noise because we have a few RR Tengus. They're all shield ships. They've all got shield reps, RR shield reps, and a Talus. I think Migrator Soul was able to bring a Talus, and they're all finally through the bubbles. They're all jumping in. Archie's got point on the rattlesnake, and everyone else is finally jumping in. I think there's 2 or 3 of them in RR Tengus and a Talus. And funny thing to note, the rattlesnake still got Acolyte 2s out. So he's starting to beat up on Archie. The Legion's burning in and scorching Archie, but he's got his point spread. Which one of these two would you think would you go for as a primary spill? The rattlesnake or the Legion?
I honestly don't know. I guess actually the Legion, because if I remember correctly, the rattlesnake has a resist bonus. So does the Legion, but I would assume that the Legion is probably going to be like mission fit, and so you can probably break him pretty easily. If he has brick tanks, you can still burn him down pretty fast. Whereas the rattlesnake, if he's like decently fit, he's going to have like a huge tank. That's going to take a while to burn down.
Yeah, definitely. So our Migrator, first guy to land on field, and a Talos. And basically, between Migrator and Archie, they blap the Legion. I think he took something like 14k damage. He was active repped. He was completely PvE fit. He had no idea what was happening, and the Talos DPS was just, it was like 10 seconds before the Tengus even landed on field. The Legion was gone. So now Tengus are on field. Archie's, this whole time, they have been picking away at him. He's starting to get into low-ish armor, but he's still got point on the Rattlesnake. And honestly, the thing that I found weird at this point, listening on comms, I got my ult, I landed on field in another Bellicose, I think is what I brought. And I'm thinking to myself, why is Archie not dead? Rattlesnake, like, he's got cruises, he's got newts, he's got drones, he's got everything he needs to kill this Proteus and get the fuck out. And all the Tengus land, and they start, shield repping Archie, and he pulls back. And that was the first sign that something was wrong with this Rattlesnake fit, when some Aura Tengus can keep a Proteus at full shields while he's tanking the Rattlesnake. But yeah, Lily, were you there for that fight, or did you hear about it afterward?
I did come in that fight in a stealth bomber, but I took gate rat, so I had to warp away.
Okay.
Belt rat.
All right, yeah. Anything up to this point? Anything that I've kind of missed or not touched on, or it's pretty accurate so far, right?
Yeah. The only thing, but you probably haven't noticed at that time, was the Rattlesnake wasn't shooting missiles at all.
Yeah, and I'm, maybe he has newts or something we're thinking, but he should have killed Archie, but no missiles. So everyone lands, they blow up the Rattlesnake, he dies in a huge fire. Everyone scoops loot, everyone's like, oh god, we've got to burn back out of these bubbles, we are afterburner fit Tengus, these guys are going to form up, blah, blah, blah. Nothing ended up happening. Everyone warped to the gate, burned through the bubbles, killed a few of them to get us out of there, everyone made it home, safe. And in hindsight, we take a look at that Rattlesnake, and he has no highs fit, he has no rigs fit, and he has 70 Acolyte 2s in his drone bay.
Strong. Too strong.
So, I'm not sure what the moral here is. I guess believe in bad or believe in stupid or whatever, but they're trashing with a half-fit Rattlesnake, protecting in my thoughts, like, the naivety that you can protect your mining ships in a belt. I mean, I guess they gave us a different target than the mining ships, so in theory he protected those 9 mining ships. But it was pretty interesting. So Bellicose, hero tackle, Archie secondary hero tackle, and it was an interesting fight. Rattlesnake with no highs fit. I don't know. That doesn't seem very wise to me. But yeah, I don't know. Anything either of you guys want to ask or add to that fight, or should we move on to the next?
Yeah, I have nothing to add. Like, just believe in stupid, I guess. I mean, that may sound harsh, but Eve is an interesting place sometimes.
Yeah, so pretty interesting. Solo. It's nice to have backup, but there's a lot of times I wouldn't get kills if I didn't have backup. But at the same time, Bellicose is sweet to try and roam solo, and sometimes you hold things down and tackle them. All right. So after that, we went on a little roam. The only thing notable from it was we popped a hauler with about 100 mil crap in it because and when he died, he's like, oh, I should have looked at intel. And there was a Tengu in a 10 out of 10. It was a static 10 out of 10 complex, and he was in like the 3rd room or something. And the first 2 rooms were completely filled with like stasis towers and cruisers and ship, and like there was no way we were going to get to that guy. So we wasted a lot of time trying to figure out how to get to him, and he was really safe. It was kind of mind blowing that you could be that safe running a 10 out of 10 in nullsec. But you were there for that, right, Lily?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That kind of blew my mind. But were you like familiar with that dynamic of like getting into the 3rd room with the other 2 still up to kill anything that comes after you?
Yeah, it's something people usually do. It keeps them very safe.
Yeah, so that was, it was frustrating finding someone that you want to kill, but not being able to get to them. So, I guess the next thing talk about, I went. This is so last week we talked about flying thrashers, and we wanted to try and get some good fights in Thrashers. So for me, this, I guess, would be the closest I got to a good fight with a Thrasher. I'm in a Thrasher, and my buddy is in a Slicer. Redamok, I believe, was who was flying it, and we had a wormhole to Providence. So Providence is kind of cool. It's kind of depressing. It's kind of bad. It's kind of good. There's definitely been a lot of drama in that region lately too, which we'll touch on a little later. But overall, thoughts on these two ships in Providence, things we'll run into, etc. Spill, Slicer, Thrasher.
I guess we're just looking for tackle to blap, or just random Providence things. I don't know. Probably is an interesting place. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. So, in my experience in Provi, you can go a few systems, and you might not see anything. You might see a couple people doing PvE activities, and then when you decide, oh, this is boring, I'm going to turn around and head home, there is a huge camp behind you, all the time, every time, without fail. Sometimes you can even you can know what system there's going to be a camp in, which actually happened later. But anyway, sitting on a gate, and there is a Scythe fleet issue and a wolf, and they are on short, clearly in warp to the gate. I don't know, Lily, what are your thoughts on a Thrasher and a Slicer versus a wolf in a Scythe fleet issue?
Not very good odds.
Yeah, so I'm feeling really ballsy, and I'm like, fuck it, we got this. And the wolf lands at 40, and the Scythe fleet lands at about 100. So Redamok, he's like, whatever, I don't care. He's got that awesome attitude where he just does not care when he dies. And so he burns in and he gets tackle on that wolf. I burn in my Thrasher, and we do epic battle. And then basically everyone gets fucked up, and we all warp away in armor, like low armor. Everyone just warps in opposite directions in low armor. The Scythe fleet issue, like, he burned in and he started messing me up. The wolf almost died. Redamok almost died. It was a clusterfuck. But yeah, I mean, I guess that was better than than it could have been. They didn't focus fire on Redamok or me, so we both got out, and we almost killed the wolf. And yeah, Scythe fleet issue was kind of a non-issue, I guess. So sometimes, I guess, moral of the story on that one is sometimes you can take fights that seem really dumb, and who cares if you're flying something cheap? What's the point, And imagine if you do get the kill, it's going to be really awesome. But anyway, so we're fleeing from these guys now. They've docked up. They've repped. We don't have reps, and we jump into a system, and Redamok catches a Retriever in a belt. So we have now we've got a Prophecy and a Brutix, and then the Scythe fleet issue and the wolf chasing us. And we catch a Retriever in a belt. Would you guys kill this Retriever? Would you let it be? What are your guys' thoughts?
I would probably try and DPS it a bit and just see how good the tank is. And if you're just like, no, this is brick tanked, we're leaving. At least that's what I'd be like, this is brick tanked, we're leaving. Or if I think it's going to go down really fast, I'm like, we're going to kill this Retriever and then just moonwalk out. I guess another possibility is just sit there and pretend like you're going to try and kill it and let them warp to you again and see if you can pull that wolf off and blow up the wolf and then leave again. So there's a few options there, at least in my mind.
Yeah, and so the two things we were thinking of is A, this gang is chasing us, and B, we're both in low armor in shield ships. We probably don't want to fight that wolf again. At least Redamok didn't want to. And I wouldn't either if I was in a Slicer in like 10% armor. But yeah, so we land on the Retriever. Redamok's been pewing him down a little bit, and we blap him. He dies really fast. He's not tanked. I don't even know if you can brick tank a Retriever, but he died really fast. And then that was it, really. Basically, the roam ended up exactly what I talked about. They'd actually formed up a camp behind us in the system that we initially fought the Scythe and the Wolf in, with sabers and the like, and they'd formed up a camp in the system in front of us. with sabers and the like. So we both jumped separate ways and we both died and got potted and everything. But kills of opportunity, finding that retriever. He thought he was safe, especially with the camps on either side. And we caught him and we killed him. We had a pretty fun fight against the wolf. I don't know. Overall, it's cool. Provi's a pretty interesting region. And my next fight is actually about Provi. But I guess I'll direct the question to Useful. Did you have any interesting or memorable fights in the Thrasher this week?
Yeah, definitely. You and I left on a duo Thrasher realm, and we were both in autocannon shields Thrashers. I think we roamed for quite a bit, and we just didn't find anything. And then we're jumping into, I think it was Catch. We jump into a Saber Loki camp, and immediately the Saber bubbles up. We're like, okay, I think we can kill this Saber. And for some reason, like I hadn't jumped in yet. And so you call me in, and by the time I like decloak, start burning for the Saber, a rapier uncloaks, and then like 2 seconds later you go down. But the Saber was already pretty low, and I got a pretty good position on my decloak. So I burn in, I get like another scram on him, so he can't burn out of the bubble, and then I finish the Saber, and then we both get potted back to Amar. But it was just fun because we were in relatively just like cheap ships, and yeah, we both died, and we only got one kill. But like we said on the previous podcast, like Sabers are expensive but really easy kills. So it's just kind of fun just jumping in and be like, yeah, there's a free Saber.
Yeah, definitely. I do remember that. And in my head, I'm thinking, Saber's just a T2 expensive Thrasher. We've got this. And
Yeah.
it was pretty good. He died. I know you almost alphaed the pod, but something happened to you because he bubbled himself. It was just a clusterfuck. They thought we were gonna get blapped, and we ended up killing their Saber and lost a couple Thrashers. And I don't know. It was pretty fun to me. They tried to ransom me too, I think, and I pretended I was looking for my ISK, and I pulled out my middle finger. So it was a lot of fun. Lily, do you fly Sabers? Because I don't.
I do.
So, can you comment on why Sabers just seem like coffins?
Well, you usually bubble yourself, so you cannot warp or cannot run. You have no tank. You have very few DPS. The only thing you have for you is you're fast, but you don't have sig bonus, so you're fast, but you have the signature of a battle cruiser.
Yeah. So, I mean, is there a right way to do a Saber? Or, like, is it just if you fly a Saber, you're throwing 70 mil at whatever you're trying to tackle?
Well, you should land, light your bubble, light your afterburn, your micro drive, and try to warp to something immediately.
Yeah, all too often I find that Sabers try and fight back. Please do, guys. Please, if you fly a Saber, continue fighting back. Because you're awesome and you make me feel good about myself when I die to your camp. But yeah, I don't know. So that was actually fun. And that happens a lot. I mean, some people, for me, I've already discussed it, but I measure my success based on, if I kill something worth at least as much, if not more, than what I lost, it's not success. No one PvPs to make money. Everyone who PvPs loses money doing it. So I always just like to make other people lose more money than me doing PvP. Okay, so then, still out of this Provi hole, I took a bunch of us out, and we were in tier 3s and caracals. We had no Logi with us. It was that whole idea of kill, tackle, and burn away. And I'm just going to kind of TLDR this room. There weren't very many interesting decisions in it. But basically, we're roaming around the big pipe in Provi, and I can tell that they're going to be forming up a camp in front of us. So what we do, we know they're on that gate. I know we're going to die no matter what. So we all jump in. I make sure everyone has a sun in their overview, and we start burning. and it was pretty remarkable. We blapped a bunch of they had probably a 20-man gang. We're probably a 6 or 7-man gang. And we killed 2 or 3 tier 3s. We killed a scimitar. We might have even killed like a Neros that got bubbled. The only couple things that were you on this room, Lily? Do you remember this?
Yes, I was.
Okay. The 2 things I found kind of funny and interesting were a couple of our guys warped out and then ended up warping back to the gate and landing in a bubble and dying. So I guess that's one thing to be aware of, is that if there are bubbles on field and you're trying to warp, don't warp back to where the bubbles are. You'll get dragged into them. But that was kind of like the first of a 2-part engagement, and we actually didn't lose too many. We lost 1 or 2 of us, and we killed a bunch of stuff, and we were actually on top, like I-score wise and everything. By the time we ended up warping to the outgate, I don't know. Anything you want to add to that, like initial skirmish, Lily, or did I kind of cover it?
No, you did cover it. The only thing is, it wasn't Caracals, it was Bellicose.
Oh, okay, right. My bad. So it was the Bellicose. I think I had 2 or 3 of them I handed out to people, and that's what we did. But so yeah, that was cool. So we end up warping to the outgate, laughing and ha ha, that was fun and awesome, and we got out and it was really cool. People were in high spirits. One of our guys had a really expensive pod, and he managed to get it out somehow after warping away in hull in his ship, warping back into the bubble and getting blapped, warping away in his pod, and then warping back into the bubble in his pod. He managed to get his pod out still. Like, at one point during the fight, I saw him land in the bubble in his pod, and I'm like, sorry for your pod, man. But he managed to get it out. I don't know what happened, but it was heroic. Then we jump the outgate, and there's like, I don't know, 7 or 8 typhoons, a rapier, and a lachesis. What are your thoughts on that, Phil?
Yeah, it's all kinds of bad. The new Foon is all kinds of trouble because it has essentially a tracking bonus for missiles.
Actually, really quick, let me cut you off. Lily, was it Foons or Tempests?
It was Tempests.
Okay, so before you go on about the Foon, let's talk about the Tempest, because it was Tempest.
Okay, so pretty much it's like a tornado but battleship size. So yeah, that's pretty much a good description of a Tempest.
See, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, they're battleships, they have shit tracking, they can't project damage or something. I don't know what I was thinking, but like the idea of the comp we were flying is never fighting things that could project damage further than our oracles and NATOs, and these Tempests clearly could. So we jump this gate and we do the whole burn and shoot stuff, and rapier and lachesis, man, let me tell you, those shut us the fuck down. There was nothing we could do. It was a slaughter. We got webbed. I was pointed at 70k at one point by the lachesis. Like, I was 70k off of him and pointed still, and I ended up going down, and everyone, I think everyone died. Maybe 1 or 2 people lived. Did anyone live, Lily?
2 of our Bellicos lived.
Okay.
I was one of them.
So a couple of us got out, because it was just like, everyone run for your life. We have no damage. We're dying. This is not good. But, yeah, the Tempests, they're overpowered when paired with recons, I guess. Yeah, I don't think I have much else to add on that fight. Other than, the Provi guys started fighting in local about who would get to loot the field. The first guys we fought or the second guys, so that was pretty funny. All right. Later that day, we tried to bait him out. I tried to bait him in a Legion, and they blue walled. So that was sad. Didn't get any more fights out of those Provi guys, but it was fun. Provi always forms up. They always have a fight. Most of the time, it's too much for me to handle, or what I'm flying with to handle. Then I guess before we start talking about Kill It With Alcohol and the related shenanigans, I have one more. Well, 2 more real quick, but one I'm just going to touch on. 2 augers, not enough cap between the 2 of them to tank a well-fit Valborn. It it really sucked. Well, we tried to break a low set camp, and they had a Balgorn on the other side, and they jumped in, and it was painful. We all died. But if they hadn't had the Balgorn, it was sweet. We were like tanking everything, and we were gonna kill like all their stuff. But then they warped in Balgorn and Logi, and it was the end. So 2 Augurs versus Balgorn, and having to rep and do stuff like that, Balgorn wins. So the last one. I'm roaming in an Atron, dual prop Atron, and I jump into a system and warp straight to an ore site because there's no NPC kills, but I see a Rorqual on scan. And as I land, there is a Stabber fleet and a Procurer. Am I fucked, Spill? Is this bad?
Maybe.
All right, Lily, what are your thoughts on an Atron
Well,
on grid with
this-
a Stabber fleet and a Procurer?
the Stabber can hit you pretty well.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh shit, this is bad. I start aligning, and the Stabber fleet warps off. Why? Does anyone have? I mean, Spill. Why? Why did the Stabber fleet warp off?
Yeah, I have no good reason. Like that's just bad. I don't know.
Yeah. I got nothing. Lily, any idea why a Stabber fleet would warp away from an Atron?
Well, a single Atron looks like a +1 for a larger gang, but it surely had time to align something and block you.
Yeah. So I lock up the Procurer. I start laying into the Procurer. Nothing on scan still. Procurer goes through shields. Procurer starts, trashing me in local about being a bad. And then he ejects and tells me I'm not going to get the kill mill and warps off to station in his pod. So I don't know. I don't really know if there's a moral to this story other than what the fuck? Stabber fleet could have killed me. Procurer never launched drones. And when you eject and your ship explodes, there is still a kill mill generated. But yeah, just bads. I don't know. It's fun. I really like people who don't have like a full grasp on the game yet, and then it's really interesting to see that the things that they think are like the right call. And like I know I make really bad mistakes too in PvP, and I'm it's just always interesting to think like what was going through their head when they did that.
Yeah, that's what makes Eve interesting. Is sometimes like people just make assumptions, and then when you flip it on top of their head, they get really angry. So,
Yeah. And he literally told me in local that I could kill his Procurer. He didn't care. He had a bunch of them anyway. So basically, the literal "I didn't want that ship anyway" was it was pretty interesting. Okay, so now we'll move on to Kill It With Alcohol. You weren't really there for this one, so Spill. So we'll bounce off some what would you have done in this situation, Steve? But then we'll tell you what actually happened.
okay.
But we tried something new this time. We tried Tweed out, which stands for Twin Engine Dymos. And this initially was your idea to try this, which I think you maybe got it from a blog or like Agony or something. Where did you get the idea to try this film?
Yeah, I believe his name is Azul School. I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly, but he used to be one of the top dudes in Agony Unleashed, which is a small gang PvP alliance. And they originally came up with this. And so what it is you have dual prop Dymos and then Oneros. And what the idea was originally is this was formulated before all the balance changes. So when Agony was using this, I believe they were fighting out Syndicate, which is a lot of small gangs. And there's a lot of Canes and Drakes that would kite them, and they're like, well, we want to be able to burn and catch them, but we want to be able to like tank them as well while we're trying to catch them. And so the idea is that since they're cruiser holes, they're fast enough that you can micro warp and actually catch battle cruiser holes. And if you get primaried, you switch off your micro warp and turn on the AB, and you still go decently fast, but you're sig tanking. And then so once they switch off, you can go back to your micro warp again. And the idea really pops if you have some links, but links make everything a lot better anyway. So
Yeah, definitely. So we had kind of a light showing this week at Kill with Alcohol. I think we had 10 people at the start, and I think that's partially because summer weekend. A bunch of people were at QuakeCon. There's a couple factors that went into that, but initially we had 6 Dymos, 2 tackle ships. One was like a stealth bomber, which don't ask me. And the other was like a vengeance or a retribution. I can't remember. And then 2 Aneros. Blue, our resident drug dealer, she brought a bunch of X Instinct for us, which was really nice. We didn't have Loki links, but we formed up in Kebbers, and everyone, had their drugs, and everyone was ready to go. So we jump into Kebbers, and we warp to the outgate, get caught in a bubble, instantly. A heron lands on us, and we blap it, and we get him good. I think someone lapped the pod before everyone else could horn it, but whatever, just general, oh yeah, cool, everyone, taking drinks, getting that started sweet, we got a kill, op success, everyone's in high spirits. And while we're in this bubble, local spikes by about 30. So our gang, or maybe not 30, maybe 20, local went up to about 35, I think. Does that sound accurate, Lily?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so I'm okay guys, I know we just killed stuff and we're not all too drunk yet. Everyone burned out of the bubbles, everyone aligned to the sun. We warp everyone off at the sun. We have the in-gate on scan, and we have a couple battleships on scan. We have a couple, I don't know what there was. Do you have any idea, Lily? What do you remember there being on the gate, at least from the sun when we first saw it?
I don't remember what ships there was. Since I was flying non-news, I wasn't paying much attention to what we were fighting.
Yeah, but it was an assorted gang of battleships, battle cruisers, and cruisers. So what are your thoughts on I mean, obviously local went up by about 20, but there were maybe only 8 on the gate at that moment. So we're thinking maybe some came from a different gate, maybe it's 2 different gangs. We're not really sure, but with an assorted group of battleships, battle cruisers, and cruisers on the gate, what do you think our odds are? What would you do at least? We're all at the sun.
I would go for it. Something that I forgot to touch on is once the Dymos actually get within, once you actually get on top of the gang and you start getting tackle played, you can just run the AB and essentially become an A hack. So ideally, that's actually the gang you want to go for. Is something that may not be able to track you as well. So I would just go for it.
Okay, yeah, so I agree completely. So we end up warping to the gate, all of us from the sun, thinking we're gonna land at 0. We land in a bubble, 40 off the gate, on top of an Aneros. On the gate, there's a Typhoon, there's a Naga, there's a Tornado, there's a Blackbird, and there's a couple frigs. Something like that. I'm pretty sure. I'm looking at the battle report now. So clearly we primary the Aneros, right? I mean that seems like the right call. As we're killing the Aneros, everything on the gate starts moving towards us, starts aggressing us, starts redboxing us. I scream at everyone to take their drugs. And after the Aneros, the next closest thing, he's about 22 off, is Brutix. Nothing else has landed really, or maybe I guess the Brutix and the Prophecy landed, unless I didn't say they were there in the beginning. Anyway, still about the same group of people. Still an engageable fight. We dropped their Aneros, we're feeling good. And now we're moving on to a Brutix. I mean, of the ships I called, do you think the Brutix is the right one, or did I say anything that you would have gone for otherwise?
Well, within range was Brutix and Prophecy, right?
Pretty much, yeah. There's a couple dudes. There's a Blackbird about 50 off, which our Logi was like, we're jammed. It was pretty frustrating, I think. Real quick, Lily, right? Blackbird jamming the hell out of you guys, or was it just blue, or?
I think it was just blue on that engagement.
Okay, so Lily's still good. Lily's still repping, so there's not too much annoyance coming out of our Logi wing, but there's a Blackbird about 50 off. We do have micro warps, and I was a little torn. I'm like, do we burn for the gate? Do we burn for the Blackbird? Do we burn for these Brutix and Prophecy that are about 20 off on the outside edge of the bubble?
I think I would probably take the Brutix and Prophecy just because they're there. And you know why now? It's like they're there, targets of opportunity. And I mean, honestly, like the Dymos have a pretty decent tank. At least maybe enough to get out if things go bad. You know, they can slow boat out with the afterburner. And if things really get hairy, like most of your dudes aren't going to be tackled by that Prophecy and Brutix, so they can just burn over to that Blackbird and just blap it. So I definitely go for the Brutix and the Prophecy.
Yeah, definitely. So we primary the Brutix, he drops like a sack of shit. We primary the Prophecy, he drops less like a sack of shit. At this point, the jams are making it so that our Logi is under pretty heavy fire, I think. And then 2 Falcons warp in, along with a Naga and another Tornado. And they're all at pretty good range. And this is where the fight started to turn, I think. Right, Lily? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, we're still killing stuff. We killed I think a random Manticore and a Thorax. But at this point, we're all getting jammed. I mean, 2 Falcons and a Blackbird, they basically were painting us with jams. Everyone was jammed. No one could do anything. What are your thoughts, Phil? The Blackbirds are pretty far, or the Falcons are far away. We're off the gate. We're not, this isn't looking good.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, like, they have enough ECM to jam your whole fleet, so it's time to tuck tail and go.
Yeah, so basically called for everyone, line out, everyone line out, line out, line out. I think Lily had gone down by this point, so that's one of our Neroses. We only got one Neros left, and when Lily went down, we had lost a Deimos as well. So we're starting to take some casualties. Everyone's lining out, and that was basically the end of the first fight. But it was 5 minutes after we got in, everyone warped out. We lost 3 Deimos and a Neros, and we killed a handful of battle cruisers and a Logi. And if they hadn't had the Falcons, or we had had one more Logi, the fight would have been really, really good, I think, in my opinion. As is, it was a lot of fun, and we got it really fast, so that's always a good thing. So then we reship. We all get into the same doctrine, and now to talk about the Providence a tiny bit. I know we're getting close to an hour, I think, actually, maybe even over an hour by now. But want to talk about this a little bit. Provi having a civil war. I don't really care about the politics behind it, but it's really interesting. There's a civil war. There's fleets all about. Everyone's fighting each other. Who doesn't want to be third party to one of those engagements? So we take our gang in hopes that we're going to catch another gang trying to get to the war and fight them, and not actually, be all up in the mix or anything. But we end up not finding anything really, and we're in the main system with its timers coming out. We're in our Tweed gang. I warp to a gate. I land in a bubble, and there's 2 or 3 interceptors. So Deimos versus interceptors. What are your thoughts, Bill?
I would definitely start trying to blap them because interceptors have no tank, and I think no, the Deimos doesn't have a tracking bonus. I don't think.
No, but and yeah, at this point, Lily, what are your thoughts? Do you think these interceptors are tackle for a bigger gang, or do you think they're just kind of trying to pick people off? What are your thoughts on these interceptors in the bubble?
Well, we found out later they were tackled for a bigger gang, but yeah, I certainly burn for them and try to block them.
Yeah, definitely. So I start shooting interceptors. A couple more land, so now there's about 5 on field. I kill like a Rifter and maybe a Stiletto. I can't really remember. There were, as you're about to find out, there were a lot of interceptors, and frigs that night. So then I call everyone in, and our whole gang lands on me in this bubble. And there's about 5 tackle frigs and our tweed gang. So I mean, easy pickings, right? At this point, Spill.
Yeah, I mean, for the time being, until I'm assuming their friends show up. I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, and so they've got friends. I'm hoping their friends are things bigger, like things that our sig tanking actually matters against. But what ends up happening is a huge severance fleet of about 30 dudes. Okay, so I'm looking at my kill. I have 41 people on my lost mail. So maybe 50 dudes in assault frigs, and they're all in frigs. Everyone in frigate hulls. There were 40 dudes in frigate hulls landed on us. How do you think Tweed did? How do you think 10 Tweed dudes? We had 3 Aneros this time, and 6 Stymos. How do you think we did against against that horde?
Probably not well, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the battle report, and so what was cool is they all land. There was one Saber with them who instantly threw up a bubble. He got primed, coffined. And then we just started calling frigs. We called a Raptor, we called an Enyo, we just were blapping frigs. Our first Logi went down right about the time we killed 3 or 4 frigs. It was a lot of damage, right, Lily? Like, it was really tough to rep through. And
Yeah, a lot of damage and a lot of viewer.
yeah, I guess they had maybe griffins and stuff, and our X instinct, our low sig, did nothing against these small weapons. So that was like completely the wrong gang. I don't know where they were hiding. I wish I'd seen the 1D scan before they all landed on us, but yeah, so we're killing stuff like that. And then remarkably enough, middle of this fight, suddenly like a bunch of Dommies land on us and a bunch of battle cruisers land on everyone. I don't know where all these people were hiding at the start of this, but looking at the full battle report for the event, it shows that there were 144 people on our friendly side and 83 on the hostile side, when in reality it was 10 of us and just a giant clusterfuck of everyone shooting shiny ships, I guess. Yeah, so 200 plus people suddenly converged on that blob that started with us fighting a frigate gang. But yeah, so it was really fun actually. Despite the huge blob, we caused a big battle. We exploded gloriously. We took a bunch of frigs with us. I had fun with it. It was fun, right, Lily?
It was awesome.
Yeah, so that was awesome. We all died. And this is the night's still young. We've had 2 really, really fast fights, really good fights, fun fights. And now we all reship into bombers. So, Spill, have you ever flown a bomber? Have you ever done anything with a bomber? Do you know anything about bombers?
Yeah, I've done a little bit of blopsing in my time with Kill. Ganking a freighter that was flying through nullsec without a scout. That was full of minerals. That was good times.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I remember our tackle was just the calmest ever. Just, all right, guys, bridge is up. I have a freighter tackled, and we were all pretty tickled by that. But
they're like, oh, okay. You're like, no, I have a freighter tackle. And we're like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. I thought he was trolling or something, but it was awesome. Johnny's a good guy. So yeah, we're getting bombers. I don't know anything about bombers. I don't know how to fit my bomber. You should have seen this bomber fit. It was the worst thing ever. We all winged it. No one knew it was happening. We went for electron bombs. And we're like, screw it. We're gonna roll out there and we're gonna bomb some people. Was the thought process behind it. It was pretty unorganized, right, Lily?
Yeah, well, it is kill it with alcohol.
Yeah, we're all pretty drunk at this point, like really drunk actually at this point. And we get out. We enter through KBP into Providence, all cloaking up and screaming like little girls when anything landed on grid with us. And then we're scanning around. We're dropping commats. We're trying to find targets. And then nothing really is happening. We're all kind of looking for targets. And then I guess I did not make it very clear what was happening, but locals started spiking, and I knew that they were coming through this gate that we were all pretty close to. So I'm just like, everyone take the swing warp, everyone take the swing warp, and I warped us at 30 to the gate. And Lily, Lily thought that we were gonna jump the gate, so Lily's decloaked, and I'm in the tunnel with Lily. So what? I don't know. Was I panicking, Lily? What happened?
Yeah, I thought we were jumping the gate, so I decloaked and started reloading my probes, so I couldn't cloak back.
Yeah. So we're in the warp tunnel. We're about to land to do a bombing run. I'm decloaked by Lily in the tunnel, screaming like, "No, cloak!" And we're all drunk and retarded. So this, as far as bomb runs go, Spill, do they require precision, or do you think this bomb run is about to go well or about to go crappily?
I mean, miracles do happen, so maybe it went really well. But considering the inebriated state of the fleet, I'm assuming this is going to end poorly for Kill.
Well, so what happens remarkably, we all land on grid. I'm already decloaked. I scream, some shit. I'm like, everyone align to the gate, fire your bombs. We're all panicking, bombs go out. I'm instantly locked up, potted, killed, whatever. But in the midst of all that, we see huge amounts of damage notifications, like a ridiculous amount. And so what ended up happening is that gang, I'm looking at the battle report here, and it shows 43 assault frigs, which are the worst target for bombs, by the way. Like, I can't think of a worse target to bomb assault frigs. Low sig, resilient, etc. But yeah, we had 8 bombers, and Lily and I died instantly because we were decloaked. But we ended up killing, I think, we killed 11 ships, I believe. Or maybe, I think we killed 5 assault frigs and 5 pods. We got all of them. And they were just the ones that were micro-warping at us. They weren't like the main core of the fleet. But everyone else got out. So we traded 2 bombers for 5 assault frigs and 5 pods. And one of the guys' pods was worth like 350 mil. So that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's an awesome feeling. We're like, oh, this worked out.
Yeah,
like what just happened?
I'd never used a bomb launcher before. I'd never done a bombing run. I'd never FC'd anything like that before, and it was just it was pretty intuitive. I mean, I figured we were all gonna. We almost had a friendly fire incident earlier in the night where Sed mistook his bomb launcher for his probes, our fearless leader, and fired a bomb in a random direction when we jumped a gate, but we lived. Everyone lived through it. So, yeah, that's all I'll really talk about on that. And then finally, Eurotrash, which is the follow-up to our Kill It With Alcohol for the EU time zone. We decided to do Black Ops, and I don't know, it was pretty cool. I'll give the quick rundown of the Black Ops thing that went down before the interesting thing at the end, and then I think that's going to be the last thing we talk about tonight. So we catch, I don't know, what did we catch first, Lily? I can't really remember. Do you have any idea?
I was hunting. I wasn't with the group that catched anything.
Okay, so I think the first thing we caught, I know we caught a Nighthawk, and I know we caught...
The Nighthawk was the second prey.
Yeah, the first thing, there was something we ganked, and I know we were scrambling to get back on the pig before that. I guess, really quick, Black Ops thing, do you want to talk a tiny bit about how it works, Lily, before we get into it?
Sure. We get a couple of hunters, which are usually Reckons or stealthy T3s with a cover-up signer. They spread around the system we are hunting with, or the region we are hunting with, and everyone else stays on the pig, which is the Black Ops battleship, cloaked, and waits for a bridge to happen.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So, first thing we caught was an Aneros, a Proteus, a Rupture, and a Catalyst. And we melted them. It was awesome. They died. We might have lost 1 or 2 bombers just because, Catalyst got all up in our shit. And that's what, that Catalyst was so happy. He was in a a field of bombers, and he's in a catalyst. Like, can you think of a better place to be in a catalyst, Phil?
No, that's like amazing. It's the best part. I mean, not the best part, but yeah, that's where I'd want to be in a destroyer.
Yeah, he was pretty happy. So then we catch a Nighthawk in a belt. I guess he was ratting with a neutral system. We kill him, Nighthawk down. So we're pretty happy. We're killed about 1 billion worth of ships, and lost like virtually nothing. Um, and then we get 2 fights at the same time. Lily ends up on grid with a couple tier 3 battle cruisers, and one of our other guys ends up on a gate camp with I think it's, battleships. And let me pull up the battle report real quick here. Yeah, it was basically it was 3 or 4 battleships at the start, and 2 augers. So bombers, battleships, you deal good damage. We had a couple falcons, so we're gonna jam out those augers, and we had a good plan in place. So we jump in. Sino gets lit. We jump in. We're doing epic battle. Tempest goes down. We lop a curse. We lop a tornado, and then they warp a chimera to the gate. So, yeah. Long story short, chimera ended the fun for us. We couldn't break anything once the chimera landed on gate. They kept warping dudes in, and we ended up losing. Fearless leader, a guy who fired the bomb, ended up bringing his widow in because he's awesome and he makes that wormhole-esque, I think was his quote. And we're all drunk at this point. But he brought the widow in, so we definitely lost that widow, but it was awesome. It was a really fun fight. We lost the widow, we lost a few recons. Everyone else managed to make it out, and we killed some stuff. So whatever, it was good. And funny thing, hostile gang actually landed on field right as we were warping out, and they almost tackled the chimera, but he made it out right before he got tackled. So that would have been cool if the hostile gang had killed the, because it was like a third party, so it would have been sweet if they'd killed that chimera. But then, so now most of us are in pods. We're all cruising back home. And some guy pipes up on comms. Hey guys, Ad Hoc has set up on our home wormhole. They have a bubble in our home. They have a small fleet on either side of the wormhole. Looks like they're set up. So we're all in pods. This isn't ideal. We're not in ships. We love fights, but we have to get into ships, and we're worried that we're all going to die in the bubble. So I don't know. So Lily, what what was the initial plan that Zakar came up with? If you want to talk about it for a minute.
So we were discussing if we should try to burn off the bubble with the pods, and one of our leaders came with a plan, which was bring 2 Archons to the wormhole, to the bubble, filled with ships. So we would jump the wormhole, grab the ship from the Archon, and start blocking stuff.
Yeah. So ridiculous drunk Eurotrash plan. We get everything in position. He just Zach, it was his plan. He's amazing. Zach instead, they both load up their Archons with ships, and they warp them straight to the wormhole. We all warp our pods in, straight into the hostile Ad Hoc gang, who's a little confused at this point. If you could imagine, one side, 2 Archons landing, they're screaming, probably calling for reinforcements, and on the other side, they're like 10 or 20 pods landing. What the fuck is happening? So then we jump the hole. Ships are everywhere. People are scrambling to get in the ships. People are dying all over the place who came in bombers. It was pretty. It was a sweet plan. It was a really sweet plan. I think if you can imagine, from Ad Hoc's point of view, all these pods warping in. Suddenly, we're jumping in a flurry of ships that are now like in space and coming out of carriers and stuff. And then we're fighting them on the other side. But we don't have the carriers on that side. A few of us are polarized that had to get ships. And then a huge, I mean, not huge, it's not like I'm not saying Ad Hoc blobs or anything, but a very sizable gang lands. Like one that, is intent on killing 2 carriers and an assorted array of subcaps. And at this point, one of our carriers had gone through to the other side to try and keep people up, try and get reps. There's all kinds of panic and screaming going on between us because we're all drunk. We just had a really adrenaline-filled but BLOPS roam, and the gang is it's a little too large. We don't want to commit. We don't want to jump both Archons out because half of us needed to get in, real ships. Half of us were in ships we couldn't fly. It was kind of a mess, so we jumped the carry back, everyone else jumps back, and the whole went crit. So it was kind of a blue ball. I do apologize a little bit. I mean, not really. I'm not sorry, but I wish we had gotten to fight ad hoc, but we were all in pods in nullsec when they formed up on our hull, and it just wasn't it wasn't the time to fight them. But the thing that I want to point out is it was really awesome that we had so many fights, like back to back to back, like waiting. We had 2 fights at one point that we could have chosen in the Black Ops thing, and as soon as we finished the fight that we took, we had another fight waiting for us on our home. And PvP has been really prevalent this weekend, or this whole week actually, but specifically this weekend. And I've been having a lot of fun with it. So yeah, I don't know. Anything you want to add to? Yeah, Lily. Anything you want to add to the whole ridiculous dump ships out of carriers plan?
Yeah. Well, at the start, when we were coming back in our pods, one of our guys, Unar, was the one that saw the ad hoc gang. He managed to get home and had to go AFK. So, right when everything ends, he comes back and says in comms, "Is anything going on?" Which was
Yeah, it was pretty good. We just come up with this most ridiculous plan. Like we have a diagram somewhere. Maybe I'll try and throw it up on the description. But like carriers, ships flying out of them, pods jumping, critting wormholes, like just the most ridiculous alcohol fuel plan you could possibly think of. And then right as it's done, comes back. Hey guys, anything going on? Like it was classic. It was pretty great. But yeah. I don't know. Any thoughts on any of this, Phil?
I'm really jealous that I wasn't there to partake in that as a way at a bachelor party, which was a crap ton of fun. But that's something that hopefully we'll get to do again, because just Leroying like that, you don't get a chance to do it often, and when you get to pull it off like that, it's just like, yeah, we just did that. Go us.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I was happy, and yeah, and I mean even today I've had some good PvP. I've realized that my Oracle can 2-shot Falcons and Blackbirds, and I did it twice in a row. But overall, PvP, it's fun. It's out there. It's accessible. It's easy. Yeah, I mean that's really all I wanna say. It's just keep PvPing, guys. I guess last thing, what kind of ship do we want to try and get a fight in for next week? I mean the Thrashers was cool, but I didn't feel like I got a really quintessential this was sweet fight for a Thrasher. So maybe I'll have to try a little harder next week to roam in the ship specified. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? Any suggestions from you, Lily, or if not, then maybe Swil?
I don't know, do we want to name like a category like Navy cruisers, or do we want to name like a specific ship?
I don't really care. We can keep it open-ended. We don't have to be a specific ship. Like we could have done Desi's last week. It doesn't really matter to me.
Okay. I don't know, Lily. Any thoughts? Or I'll name something. Do you have any ideas?
Yeah, you pick something. I really don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, sorry to put you on the spot. I'm gonna say Navy frigates, because I was playing a Navy comment this past week and it was a lot of fun. So I want to try and do something ridiculous with that.
Yeah. Okay. Definitely. We had like slicers, and I was in a Condor last night. It wasn't any kind of interesting thing, but we killed a Megatron with 3 of us, and like he had the full rainbow of guns in the tie slot. So it wasn't. That's why it wasn't a very interesting kill. Like he was brand new or something, flying a Mega in low sec. But Navy frigates, they were king. It was a lot of fun. So I'm down. Navy frigates. for next week. So yeah, closing thoughts. PvP's out there. Check out our website. I think I just uploaded a video of like some bloopers of me sucking at PvP, so you guys can check that out on thedailyroam.com under the videos section. Otherwise, you guys will hear from us again next week. And join us in-game, in our in-game channel, The Daily Roam with Spaces. Anything either of you guys would like to add? Shoutouts? Anything?
I'm good.
Thanks for the invite, guys.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for coming on, Lily. We really enjoyed having you here, and keep killing stuff. We we have a lot of fun flying with you.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, guys. Until next week, then.